Hi there. The usual hello and good evening or good afternoon or good morning or wherever you are in the world right now watching this to the next episode of OctoPrint Code and Chat, the little live stream format that I created in order for all of us to better cope with the ongoing pandemic. I'm your host, Gina Heusken. I'll be offering you the opportunity today again to just look over my shoulder while I'm working on OctoPrint. So, what we're going to do today is looking at some bugs again. Actually, at one specific bug for now, which again was reported by Jim a couple of weeks ago, actually, or even months. I'm not sure. Something that I really, really need to get around to look at, and so I figured why not do it here? Because the interesting thing about this bug is that we are going to try to solve an issue that only appears to occur with plugins which replace tabs or replace components of core OctoPrint. And in order to do that, I'm first going to develop a quick test plugin. So you'll get an idea of how plugins in OctoPrint are developed. Only a very minor one, which will not really be doing anything useful, but still you're going to get a bit of an insight into how to do this stuff in general. And at a later point, I'm still collecting ideas for plugins to develop live on air. The current suggestions were either too small or too big. So I'm still looking for good ideas. But the goal is that in one of the next episodes, maybe in a longer one, which might start a bit earlier, because it's already 5 o'clock on my side of the world now, or I'll just make the day short or start later on that date. But yeah, I might need a bit more than my usual 3 hours that I do these live streams to properly show a plugin development, or we'll split it over 2 episodes or something like that. I'll look at that then. Okay. As last time or the last times, my live chat is over there. So if you see me staring there, that's because I'm trying to follow whatever you all are typing there. I'll be sharing my second screen with you shortly. And I might also occasionally look over here because that's my main screen. So just that you know what you're looking at here. Also, if you want to see how the setup that I'm currently looking at is looking from the other side, I just posted something on Instagram. Okay, so let me just quickly switch you all over to, or rather, which one was that again? I think that button. Yay, that's looking great. Also, something new, and I hope it helps. I got some complaints from some of you that you were always, so there were some bangs in the stream whenever I hit the table or so due to the microphone arm that I'm using. I upgraded things a bit and got myself one of these little rubber microphone spider thingies. So things are a bit more decoupled now and hopefully debounced and all that. I hope it helps. In any case, it gave me a chance to design an adapter piece in Fusion 360 and print it out because, of course, what I got, even though I thought it would fit, didn't fit the threading on my existing microphone. So that's what 3D printers are for, right? Okay, so this time I just left the font size at the right setting. I'll just have to quickly rearrange some things here on my desk so that I can actually type because, okay, yeah. The camera puts everything at a bit of a weird angle for me, but I'm trying to cope. Okay, so the ticket maybe first that we are looking at. I'll have to drag this over from here. That was wrong. That is the right one, I think. Where is it? Well, now I just have to find it again. There it is. Right. Okay. So, is this one. So, if I understand the problem correctly, and it already was reported back in December, but on for one of the 140 RCs, but it also happened in 1312, so it was not a regression, which is why I'm only now getting around to it and did not do that during the release candidate phase. Is that if you have a plugin that replaces an existing tab or let's just say component, but we are looking at tabs here. So in this case, there is this plugin that replaces the temperature tab. And you use the appearance components order tab list in order to position this on the second position in this case. So control plugin hello world is the plugin in question here, G-code viewer terminal time lapse. Then it will not be ordered there. So in the hopes that this is not a plugin issue like last time, we're going to tackle that now. And I haven't really had a chance yet to even remotely analyze this. I just had it wait for me to take a proper look. And it's actually in the analyzing, I only just put it in the analyzing column on my new ticket triage Kanban board thingy in the OctoPrint GitHub repository an hour ago, because I decided it was time to finally tackle that. So yeah, what we first need, of course, in order to be able to reproduce this and figure out if it is actually a problem on my end or on the plugin's end or on whatever's end, we'll need a plugin with which to reproduce this. And I, of course, could now just try to, replicate or fetch a plugin that already does this, but instead I'm going to quickly whip up a new one that does this. So we are going to build a very simple plugin which simply just replaces the temperature tab with a different tab that just says hello world or something like that on it. Since the questions are just aroused in the live chat, which, by the way, I totally forgot to say this, you're of course welcome to ask questions in there, and I'll try to keep up with them. The IDE I'm using here is PyCharm, and I'm actually a paying customer of theirs because I really, really like what they are doing, and I prefer to buy my tools and to own my tools. And I, even then, when I was still a Java developer way before OctoPrint was a thing, I was a very happy customer of JetBrains. So yeah, I'm not being paid for this or anything. This is just my honest opinion. I really love their IDEs. Git integration is great. Integration with other frameworks is great. Refactoring tools are awesome. The debugging tools are awesome. And once you're, you just have learned a bit about this stuff, you really don't want to miss it anymore. I still use where is it? Can I show this without any risk of leaking passwords all over the internet? I think so, yeah. So I still use Visual Code as a code editor. So if I just need to edit a YAML file or if I need to view some logs or something like that. But when I code Python, I really prefer a proper IDE. Yeah. So, right. Aaron just asked to please provide links to the environment to the video description. I'll try to remember that, and I'm jotting this quickly down so I don't forget. Creating a plugin. So what we're going to do here is, so we have multiple options. We could just create the basic plugin structure completely from scratch, but OctoPrint actually does ship with a little tool that helps you with all this, because I wrote this. There's this funny, nice little tool out there which is called Cookie Cutter, and Cookie Cutter allows you to create whole file structures with source files and all that from templates. So you just have some templates that define the rough structure of some kind of code project, and then you run that through Cookie Cutter, and Cookie Cutter then fiddles it together with whatever input parameters you provide, and then something that is more or less a finished project environment falls out. And I adapted this, and I'm utilizing this in OctoPrint's in one of OctoPrint's development commands. And there. So what I will be doing here now is I have a Git bash here with an activated Python 3 development environment or virtual environment into which OctoPrint is installed. So what I'll quickly show you what I did here. So I have a bunch of development environments here, and they were just created with virtual env -- python equals and then path to Python 3. I don't know the exact one right now, and then in this case defenv3, or in the case of the defenv one, it was just Python path to Python 2 or Python. I have no idea anymore where exactly it was, but also I just realized that the font size in this window is probably a tad small. Let me quickly check if I can do something about that. Text maybe? Yeah, look at that. Okay, so we are going to up that, but we're also going to maybe quickly Source Code Pro, no. Oh, Source Code Pro it is. No, not Powerline, the other one. Will this work? Oh Jesus. That's a bit big. Let me quickly turn it down again and resize the window first, because otherwise it's going to be horrible to get back to these margins. Maybe 14. Yeah, I think this should be visible. I hope so, at least. Oh, was it Space Mono, the funny one? Now I'm undecided which font to use. Yes, I am a bit weird in that regard. Let's lose consolas. Use, of course. Right. Okay. So this is basically how this dev-env virtual environment was created. In the OctoPrint development documentation, you will see it being mentioned as venv and venv3 or something like that. It's just the same thing, really. It's a virtual environment with either Python 2 or Python 3 environment actually inside, and I'm just going to use the devenv3. Jesus, this is tricky to say. One. No, activate. Bam. Okay, now we have that one active, and I already have OctoPrint installed into that one, so the OctoPrint command is available. Should be available. Yeah. So we are going to do OctoPrint dev plugin new, and just to tell you what this does or what this expects. Okay, that was apparently wrong. Was it OctoPrint plugin dev new? I'm confused right now. Oh, right. It was OctoPrint dev plugin new, right? Yeah. See. Okay. Sorry, it's late. So it basically creates a new plugin based on the OctoPrint plugin cookie cutter template. That's what I mentioned right now. And you could provide it all these things, but you don't actually have to, because what we're going to do now is we're just going to create a new plugin called OctoPrint. How are we going to call it? Tab replacement test. Oh no, that was actually wrong. Sorry. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah, wonderful. I think the console is very much confused right now, which is, yeah, look at that. Nice. Isn't it great when stuff just doesn't work when you're trying to demonstrate something? We're going to move this over here, let it recover, and in the meantime, I'm going to simply spawn a new one, which will hopefully behave. But of course, it reset the font size, because why wouldn't it? But let me quickly just go where I need to go. Okay. And then source scripts activate. Okay, and now let me resize it again. Select. Okay. The other one, by the way, is still hanging. I have no idea what went wrong there. But again, OctoPrint dev plugin new. We just have to type that one. I forgot it. Now it's thinking for a bit, and then it should ask how do we want to call the plugin identifier, and it suggests we're going to call it skeleton, but no, we are not going to call it skeleton because we're calling it tab replacement test. And then it suggests that the plugin package will be called that, yes, and then the plugin name, but we're going to slightly change it, replacement test. Then the repository name, I mean, we're not going to actually push it into a repository, but it's still suggested because it also prepares this whole software update stuff. Full name, that's me. And that's also me. Yep. Oh, one was not known. It's okay. Plugin description, test plugin to replace a tab and test stuff. AGPL for EV3 is suggested, and then it also generates the plugin homepage, source, and install URL links for you. And that's already it. So if we now go into OctoPrint tab replacement test in the folder, you will see it has generated a whole bunch of stuff, and we're actually going to dive into this. So I'm sorry, I have to glance around the camera, which is why I'm sitting so weirdly here. And we're going to open that one. And we'll I actually did refresh this then. Attach it to the current window. And now the camera really blocks parts that are important. Okay. And now here is the thing that it generated. The idea folder is actually something that was just put in there by the IDE. Ignore that. The rest is what came out of the cookie cutter template. And what do we have here? So we have a setup pie that's already filled in with a ton of stuff that should, oh, I don't know what it did there, but it's so wonderful to have these characters in your name. No, this is not a B, this is an S. Yeah, so this is already pre-filled. You usually should not have to touch this again unless you want to change the description or the version number after you put out some releases, of course. The requirements txt, a very to-do-ish readme that you really want to touch and to change. Manifest file that you don't need to worry about. The same goes for editor config, git ignore, and all the translations. This is only going to be relevant if you actually want to, or actually have parts that need to be translated and all that. So the actual code of the plugin resides in this plugin package, and you remember this from the that was actually what it asked us about here. How do we want to call that? And we just took the suggestion. So this is the folder where the plugin the actual plugin resides, and this is just stuff that is generated for you in case you want to register it on the plugin repository, which we're probably obviously not going to do now. So we can ignore that. We can ignore most of what is down here. The only stuff that is interesting is in these in this folder. So what did it generate for us here? So ignore the error here, the import error. It's a bit confused, but it will work. So it generated a plugin stub for us that uses the mix-ins for a settings plugin, an asset plugin, and a template plugin. So this plugin right out of the door that it pre-generated for us is able to have settings, which you can define here, is capable of injecting JavaScript, CSS, and less files into the core UI, which you can further define here. So if you need more than those that it pre-generated for you, you can add them here as well. It is able to update itself, at least as long as you actually put it at this repository location here and create GitHub releases for it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And it also, sorry, there is nothing listed here, but in theory, if you throw any kind of component templates in here, it will also register them with the system and use them. And you can also create custom configs for that. So this implements 3 mix-ins, and we only actually need the template plugin, because all that we want to do is replace an existing tab with one of our own, so we don't need the settings and we don't need the assets, and also we don't need the software update hook actually, but I wanted to show you that it has been generated and in theory it would work like that. We are going to change the class name up here. Shift F6 in PyCharm opens the rename refactoring tool. Because we want it to look like that. And now I've replaced it there and there. Now we can actually make this a bit easier. We don't need that, we don't need that. We want it to be compatible to both Python 2 and 3. And we also want this maybe to say this. Okay, so now the actual part where we implement stuff. I said we implement a template plugin. That means we have to put templates inside this folder. So we can do this very easily now without any further configuration being necessary by just giving our replacement tab file a specific name, which I have to actually look up in the documentation because I cannot remember it right now from the top of my head. So we are going to look into developing plugins, mix-ins, because all this stuff there, settings plugin, asset plugin, and all that, those were mix-ins, template plugin, and we want to create a tab. So we are going to scroll down here where it explains what kind of default template names it expects, and that would be the plugin identifier underscore tab.ginger2 for a tab. So in our case, because our plugin identifier is tab underscore replacement underscore test, and you can always look that up in setup.py because this is defined right up here, we are going to create a file called, wasn't there a plugin prefix in front? Okay. I somehow thought there would be, okay, never mind. So new file, so tab replacement test tab. It's a bit double, but okay. This is a new file. We're going to simply put inside of that a header of level 3. Hello Livestream. Why say world when we can say Livestream? And where is my init.py? There's my init.py. And we don't actually need to put anything in here right now because we really, for now, we just want to create a very basic plugin that just adds a tab to OctoPrint. We are going to go about how to have it replace a tab right after that, but for now we'll leave it at an absolute minimum. And actually, speaking about minimum, we don't need that one either. Also, quickly taking a look at the live chat. Aaron asks if maybe with one of these live sessions you could help us with a first fresh setup of development environment, and John says, yes, I agree, that would be very useful. I'm going to think about how best to do that, and yeah, might actually be a good idea, yeah. And the question in the live chat by Sean, what we are making, just reminded me that I actually wanted to put a little thing underneath in the live stream that scrolls through that explains what we are making, but I forgot to prepare that, so I'm now going to have to do that. Oh, look at that. That should be an R. We are going to write, first of all, we're going to write a very, very small plugin which does nothing else but replace the temperature tab with a new tab that says hello Livestream. And then we are going to use this plugin in order to debug an issue on the tracker number 3403 for anyone who wants to look that up. Okay. Yeah, so this is now a plugin that hopefully should work, but we still have to tell OctoPrint about it. So I'm going to need that one here. And then we are simply going to install it, and we are going to install it with this -e here. So pip install -e dot. What this does is basically, so OctoPrint plugins are just Python packages with some special extra stuff that is going on inside them, which this whole generator thing takes complete care of for you, so you don't have to worry about that if you use it or if you use the template manually. But which means that in order to install OctoPrint plugins, you usually install them through pip, so through the Python packaging tool. Python pip. I have no idea what pip stands for. Actually, I just realized, but yeah, pip install, and the -e means it is an edible install. So instead of packaging up the thing that is to be installed and then moving it into a part inside the virtual environment, it is just placing a link in the virtual environment that points to this very folder. So whenever I make changes to this and restart OctoPrint, I will run an updated version of the plugin. So you really, whenever you are developing plugins, you really want to make them an edible install during development, because otherwise you constantly have to reinstall it, and this is just annoying. So this is this is the way to go here. And dot just means whatever is in the current folder, and we are in the folder of the plugin. And since we have the requirements txt, which says when we want to install something, the requirements are whatever are in this folder, this works. Right, and I actually, that's funny. That's the one that's still not responding, by the way. Here, that window on the other screen, and it's just dead, and I cannot. Right. I cannot even recreate it, so it's now minimized forever, apparently. But yeah, we are going to kill that at oh dear. What is it doing? Now it's crashing the Explorer, apparently. No, okay, great. We are going to do that before anything else horrible happens. And now it installed this plugin, our tab replacement test, into the Python 3 virtual env. Okay, so OctoPrint and the server is currently running, our local one, and we're going to restart that. And we're going to restart that actually in debug mode, so I'm just going to hit this button here. And then we'll have to wait a bit. Yep. Okay. So this should hopefully now show us a new tab. That's looking good. So tab replacement test. Hello Livestream. Ba-da! But we don't want it to be hidden back there, but we actually want it to replace our temperature tab. So we are again going to take a look at our mix-in documentation. And there's this method that we can implement in our plugin, which is called get template configs. And if you read through that, it tells you that you're supposed to I'm actually right now surprised that the cookie cutter template doesn't generate one of these for you. Okay. Weird. Yeah, so it should return a list containing one configuration object per template to inject. And each object is represented by a dictionary, which may contain the following keys. So what we want is a type tab plugin. We don't have to give it a name. We don't have to define the template actually, because it's going to default to the one that we are using. We don't need a custom suffix. We don't need a custom div, but replaces. We want it to replace something. So this needs the ID of the component this one replaces. Might be either one of the core components or a component provided by another plugin. A list of the core component identifiers can be found in the configuration documentation. Now look at that. I actually documented that. I didn't know it. The identifiers of other plugin components always follow the format described above. So components, and we wanted to replace the temperature tab. So we want it to replace the component with the ID temperature, which is fairly easy. So back to the IDE and actually back to that file. So we're going to remove that now, and instead we are going to define get template configs. Bam. And this is going to return a list with dictionaries inside, and we're going to define our tab, which replaces temperature. And unless I'm mistaken, that should already do it. So we're going to restart the server. And again, waiting. Woohoo! Also, I just got a notification that I'm live. Thank you very much, Google. I am very much aware that I'm live. Ouch. That. These noises, no, thankfully, I think you're not picking up on them, I hope, but yeah, that was my neck. And we're going to refresh this, and hopefully we will see that this one here has moved here. That did not work. Why didn't that work? Might be because something that I merged earlier. So I'm going to make sure that the cache is cleared. Yep, that was the problem. Okay, so that replaced the temperature, but we now want to move it after control, because this is the issue that appeared in here. Jim tried to move it after control, and that did not work. So we're going to try that now. The identifier of that thing is plugin underscore and then our plugin identifier. So plugin underscore tab replacement test, I think. So we are going to take a look into config YAML, because this is stuff that can currently only be configured through that. And we're going to go into, oh, where was it? Appearance, I think. Yeah. Appearance order. And then we're going to say, so we want to have control, or was it controls? Control. So first control, and then, oh, also I hope you can read that. I just noticed it's also my usual font size and not the big one, but yeah, we're not going to do much in here. And then we're going to say plugin tab replacement test. And then we don't actually need that because everything else will just be, well, we are going to edit. Then we're going to add these three. Can we just, we need to always make sure in YAML files that you're properly indenting, because otherwise it simply will not be readable, and then you'll get an error on startup of your server. And also very important, YAML files do not support tab characters for indentation, which of course, if for those of you who were with me last Friday during the last live stream, I think, or was it the one before where I did my little tab versus spaces talk, I would prefer tabs here, but yeah, so YAML only supports spaces, so we'll use spaces, otherwise it doesn't work. Okay, so this is saved. And we are now going to restart the server again. For the record, restarting the server is probably the thing that I do the most throughout the day when I'm developing. It's just part of it. So yeah, if I'm just doing front-end work, I don't actually have to constantly restart it, because this can be solved through caching, but through cache clearing and all that. But whenever I change something in the config, that is not automatically reread again, or when I change stuff in the backend, so server side, for example, this stuff, yeah, then it's time to reload. Also, just to make sure, it was called get template configs, right? Yes, okay, that's important, because otherwise it won't work. Okay, we reload. I really have to figure out what's going on there. Yep. So that we have the reproduction. So it should be located here, but it's not. Okay, so now we can start with the actual part where we try to debug our bug, and it only took us half an hour to get here. But we have a reproduction, so that is nice. So what we're going to do is, and I'm once again trying to glance around the camera, we're going to go into the part of OctoPrint where it is fiddling together our base HTML, because that determines the order. And we are going to take a look at where the order is actually being applied to the components registered in the system, which I think should be... Nope, 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 nope. I think it's reordering stuff here. Implementation template plugin, process template configs. Ah, right, it's reordering things here. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a breakpoint. So I'm just clicking in here. I quickly jot down that I need to. It would probably help some of you who actually want to use this IDE if they saw what kind of stuff I'm clicking or what shortcuts I'm using. So going to see if I can get a mouse and keyboard visualizer into the stream next time. And the other thing, right, that was this scroll thingy with what we're currently building or doing. So I jotted that down, so I will hopefully not forget it. Okay, so we set a breakpoint, but we don't want it to actually stop on every single template type that we have in the system. We only are interested in tabs right now. So we are going to say only stop if T is tab. And then we should be fine, I think, with not restarting, but just doing a force reload. Yep. Okay. So we can now take a look at what things look like. So default order loading value is temperature control G-code viewer terminal timelapse. This is coming from the settings. Configured order is what we have set. Control plugin tab replacement test G-code viewer terminal timelapse. So far, so good. Configure disable we can ignore for now. We're not really interested in that. It's an empty list anyhow. First, create the ordered list of all component IDs according to the configured order. So templates, we're actually going to watch that because I think it's going to make things way easier. Add to watches, so we can see it over here. And I should maybe remove this because we're not invalid syntax. Wait, what? That syntax definitely is invalid. That should be templates tab. Might be an IDE bug, I don't know, but yeah. So the order, we have entries here: temperature, control, G-code viewer, terminal, timelapse, plugin, progress logger. I hope you can actually see that and it's not being blocked by my webcam picture. Wait, where are the other entries? Where is this entry actually? Ah, it got... Oh dear. Yeah, okay. So the problem here is that, or rather the bug. So we now have the problem here. When we replace an internal tab, the key gets not replaced. So it actually gets positioned wherever that thing is positioned. So in order for this to work, we would have to do this. And then it would replace, it would swap this correctly. The question now is, of course, should it do that? Is this the expected behavior? Because, I mean, we wouldn't have a ticket if it was the expected behavior. The question is, do we want to just document it as a heads up? Like, um, uh, heads up that if you replace a tab, you have, and if you want to position it somewhere, you have to use the ID or the identifier of the tab that you replaced? Or should it um, should it actually get injected in there? I'm really not sure right now what the correct behavior should be. Whew. Uh, yeah. So yeah, let me think about this. So, um, the problem is, um, the problem that I see with replacing the identifier there is that it makes it extra hard to place a tab properly that replaces another one without touching the order definition. And with leaving it like this, I see it confusing people. So, whew. Ideally, it would probably just be that the key for both gets taken into effect. So what we would need to do here is that if either temperature or plugin underscore tab underscore replacement underscore test, I should have chosen a shorter identifier, I think. If now I got distracted by the live chat and lost my train of thought. So if either of those is inside our order definition, we'll take this tab. The problem is that right now we only have this dictionary here. So this dictionary, so we don't have the information anymore that this here, I mean, we have it in a way because the replaces isn't still here, but we don't want to iterate over everything. So what we would need is a lookup table that tells us, oh, and by the way, this plugin or this identifier is also known under these aliases. I hope I did the pronunciation correctly here. This is one of the words which I usually only read and never pronounce. At least in English and German, it's alias, but yeah. And I think actually something like a lookup table here for known aliases or aliases. You know what I mean? Would be for known AKAs. Would be the best approach because it would, yeah, basically merge both words. Currently, taking a quick look, the alias. Okay, thank you, Aaron. The suggestions from the live chat are currently, so Jim says both, which would be my lookup approach. And Sean says, what about an option to hide original tabs? No need to replace them. And we also have that, I think at least. I think so. Let me check. Wasn't it documented? Oh, wrong tab. We are closing this. Replaces. I thought there was something, but I might be misremembering things. Or maybe that was part of the configuration which I just closed. Great. Components order disabled. Yeah, that is the part where you hide components, which is basically just disabling them. But that is, yeah, if you want to write a plugin that replaces a tab, you don't want to mess around with the configuration, and moving this out of there would make things tricky. Yeah. Just to quickly, maybe, since I just noticed, I modified this but never verified that it actually did what it is supposed to do. But then again, yeah, no, we know that it is correct. So, okay. Yeah, so lookup table, right? So we are going to stop the server for now because we don't need it to run while we're doing that. So the replacement itself is what happens up here. And what we want. I just have to make sure that I don't think the wrong way around. What we want is that something like this, control plugin tab replacement test G-code will place this thing that replaced the temperature after control. But we also want it to be placed there if it says control temperature G-code viewer terminal time lapse. So we need to be able to look up things in both ways, which means we need. Okay, so first of all, we are going to put it there. Now we're going to put it there. So we are going to put create this plugin alias. Yeah, plugin aliases. Jesus. And this is going to be a dictionary. Is it going to be a dictionary? No, it's going to be a default dict. Default dict is can I get a yeah, this was control Q, by the way. This is a part of the Python standard library, and it is a dictionary class, but with a default data structure for keys. So I can say create a default dictionary for me, and whenever I try to access a key that is not yet in there, it will create a new value for this key. And I can define the factory function with which to create it. And this I can use this. Second. This is not corona. This is just a dry throat. I can use this to have a dictionary which has a default empty list for all keys, or all keys that I try to access, which helps when I want to map, when I want to create a map, or a map of one-to-many relationships, like I want to do here. Usually I would have to do something like, first looking if the key is in there, and if not, placing an empty list in there, and then adding an item to the list. And I don't want to do that because default dict does this to me, for me, so I'm simply going to do that and call it a day. So we now have plugin aliases. I'm doing it wrong again, right? Aliases. Plugin aliases. Why am I trying to call it alias? I have no idea. Gina Learns English 101. Roms just told me to think of an alien. Yeah, well, I'll try to. So what we can now do without having to worry about stuff is we can say that in plugin aliases for the key. No, wait. Not for the key, but for the where is our? Oh, right, for data key, because that is the identifier of the plugin. So any alias oh gee. Aliases for that should get appended the thing that it replaces as well, and also the other way around. So data replaces dot append data key, and now we have a bidirectional lookup, and I have no idea right now what it is. It was just processing. Thank you, Howard. Howard just suggested the JetBrains plugin for Stream's presentation assistant. Pops up a little overlay window with keyboard shortcuts used and what they do. I'm going to add that through the next one, though. I don't want to mess with the IDE right now. But I'm going to jot that down on my little piece of paper here, which is, starting to run out of space. Where was I? Right. So we now have our bidirectional mapping here, which is good, but only half the rent, as we would say. But before I continue, let's just make sure that this is actually working the way we want it to. And I'm going to start the server and leave my breakpoint here and take a look at... I just noticed I need this per template type. We're stopping the server again. So this is actually a dictionary of default dicts, right? No, it's a default dict of a default dict of a list. No. We are not going to do that. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Instead, we are going to do that. Wait. I'm not happy right now. Let me think. And yes, underscore key. Jim, that's all right. You already retracted the message. Per. Ugh, but I really want to use the default dict here. Templates, T order. We could just... Yeah. We could actually just create a new one per... Let's just do this. We'll do that. And then we'll add a T here. That should be correct then. And this up here then needs to be a dictionary without any parameters. I think now we have it. Yeah. So this starts out as an empty dict. We iterate over our plugins. Whenever we find a new one here, T in template types, we add aliases in there. And yeah, so now we can check if it's actually going to do that what we expect it to do or not. So where are they? The aliases, there they are. So we have a navbar, a sidebar, nothing in there, but here for tab we actually have entries, and it tells us plugin tab replacement test is also known as temperature, and temperature is also known as plugin tab replacement test. So this works. And now yeah, so now we need to have it inject whatever. X for X. Let me, I just have to quickly think through something before I can explain it. Yeah, we have the order then. Let me check it there. Come to think of it, I think we do not want a bidirectional mapping after all, but only a one-directional one. Because the thing is, so we have order defined that can contain either our plugin identifier or the one that got replaced. But in the end, for the actual rendering, in the template, we needed to have the order, the actual, sorry, not the order, the identifier of the actual component that we are supposed to render, because otherwise OctoPrint won't be able to find it and will just edit at the end. So we wouldn't be any wiser than we are now. So what I want to actually do, and it's going to take a bit more processing overhead, sadly, but well, this is the death that we have to die here. This was also a German phrase. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, we are going to make this a one-directional mapping again. So we are only going to map from. We are going to keep a map of all tabs that our thing here replaces, and I think I don't even actually need a list here, but yeah, might actually just it can only replace one thing, right? We don't even need a default dict here. We can just use a regular dictionary and have it map to this. We don't have to make it so complicated. Yeah, okay. So I think I'm not going to use a list comprehension for this, because an actual for loop might be way less confusing than what I would have to need now. But so we are first going to refactor this list comprehension into a for loop. So for x in configured order, and we're going to do it like that. Result dot append. No, wait. If x in templates of t of fascinating. Apparently I have a shortcut for remember the milk to create a new task I had no idea about, because it just popped up an add task input window on the other screen. If x in templates t of entries and not x in configured disabled, then templates, no, sorry, result dot append x, right? Because this is what, and then templates t order is result. So these 5 lines is this 1 line. And as soon as that thing decides that everything is fine with this code, I'll continue. Yeah, okay. Jim is asking if I even need the aliases at this point, but change the key. Yeah, the problem is if I don't want to change the key, because I still also want to be able to react to temperature. So I want to be able to react to both temperature and plugin underscore tab replacement test. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is I have to make sure that that x actually is a known entry, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to append it to the order. So what we're going to do is we don't need that anymore. First of all, I'm going to place the same thing up here, t equals tab. I'm going to remove this, and this one as well. And just to make sure, we are going to quickly verify that this indeed is still working the same. I usually, admittedly, would not do that, but for the sake of this live stream now, just to maybe help to follow this a bit better, we're going to do that. And sorry for the church bells, which you're probably hearing in the background. So, yeah, if we run through that, Oh, maybe we should just tell it to run here, because otherwise we'll be here for a while. Run to cursor. Result is now control G-code viewer terminal timelapse, which is correct because we don't know plugin underscore test, no, tab underscore replacement underscore test anymore, because up here we replaced it, but we're now going to fix that. So this is still working as expected, so we did not make a mistake while unwrapping this list comprehension, this one line. And now what we're going to do is change this slightly. So we are first going to say if x is not in these entries, then we're going to say x equals wait. How do I do this now with a minimum of line repetitions, because this is my goal here? Yeah, then we're going to check if plugin aliases of t doesn't actually need to, yeah, if x has an entry in this thing that is not none, why am I making it so complicated? If x in sometimes, okay, if x is in plugin aliases of t, which means it might not be in the entries, but it has an alias that is in the entries, then we are going to set x to that. Otherwise, if, and now we have to do the reverse lookup. We have to go through all of our aliases and check if x is somewhere in the value, on the value side of that. And if so, use the key as x. Oh no, wait, what? The logic is really complicated. Let me quickly think. So, because in the end we need the thing that ends up in our result. So the thing that gets appended here, that needs to be the actual key of our plugin, because otherwise it will not be able to be found. It will not be able to be found. Yeah, okay. So this must not be assigned to x, or at least it must not be appended here. So instead, we are going to, okay, wait. Yeah, I think this should work. So if our component ID is not in template T of entries, then if the order ID is in plugin alias, oh dear, aliases, right? Then the order, if the order ID then, which currently is the same, unless we do a mapping, is in there, and it is a known entry, then we set the component ID to that. Is this correct? This is okay. Yeah, okay. Then we map. This is the mapping step that we do. And otherwise, if this is going to be a bit longer. Otherwise, so this is one direction where this is the case where in our example right now, we have, let me quickly think before I say it's just the wrong way around. Yeah, in this scenario, we have the situation where temperature is in the order definition and has been replaced by our plugin. Is this the case? Is this correct, or did I just mix it up? Component ID not in template, then order ID. Oh, this is also part of this work. Even though I sometimes really can struggle with it. Okay. This is the moment where I would usually jump over to the whiteboard to my right, but I can't do that right now very, very well because you would not be able to see anything, and I also cannot change the camera position because this whiteboard certainly is not in a condition where I want the whole world to be able to see it. So, yeah, Sean, I also lost track. So he's asking if it's possible to dump the variables that we're working with, and that might actually be helpful here. So we're going to quickly comment this stuff out. Middle mouse click, drag down. You can quickly do a multi-line select and then, oops. And then you should not hit enter like I just did accidentally. And this is going to be an X again, and this should give us back the old behavior. So we are going to quickly start this up. It's not currently running, right? No. We're going to quickly start this up. Now just going to take another look at what things are actually looking like. And then we're going to try it with what Soren DP just suggested, which is basically comment-based development. That was what? Result? No. Plugin aliases down here, right? Tab. We have this mapping to this. And we want to be able, we want to put this key here into our result at the position where either this key or this key shows up in our order definition. And there is a car running outside just below the window, which is slightly annoying, I have to say. So far, all that we did is we checked if whatever is in the order definition So the stuff that we define here, what if for example, if control or plugin tab replacement test or G-code viewer or whatnot, if this has an equivalent in our entries list, which let me quickly, that's actually easier to show you here. So this is a dictionary, and if this, what we're looking at here in our configured order, if this shows up as a key here, then we are done, and we just put this whole definition. No, we just put the key of it in our result. So far, so good. What we now have to do is, if this does not show up in here, we have to figure out if it maybe, if one of its aliases shows up in here. So in this case, temperature is in here, but we are looking at plugin tab replacement test. So what we would need here is, we would have to figure out which to which key in our aliases dictionary this specific value belongs that we are looking at here. Oh Jesus, and I'm getting hungry a bit. So, and I'm thinking the wrong way around. So in this case, no, what we would actually have to do in this case, in order to solve this problem, here we would just have to look up, where is it again? Right, in this case we would just have to look, okay, we have this here in our order list that we are currently iterating through, but we have this in our entries list. Wait, I think I'm making this way too complicated. Shouldn't. Let me quickly check something and I'll explain later if it works. And if not, we are simply going to forget that I ever did this. What's happening here? Mm-hmm. And we run through here. And it did the translation correctly. Because the, yep, I think, was this it? Yeah, problem loading the page. Obviously the server was not running. But it should be running now. Really have to figure out what's going on there. I think it's due to, yeah, okay. I was thinking way too complicated. So, the thing is, we can only have two possible values that show up in this order dictionary. Or maybe I was not thinking too complicated. Wait, okay. So no, right there. And if temperature, yeah, okay. No, that's correct. So plugin tab replacement test replaces temperature, right? So this is our starting point. The way it is being replaced means that in our set of template definitions in this entries thing, let me just maybe go to that again in the debugger so that we can all see. Oh, I need to reload from right, so that we can all see the data structure here, because that makes things way easier to understand, I think. The thing here, these entries, this is what OctoPrint will iterate through, or rather, this is what OctoPrint will take the information from in order to render all this tab stuff, and it will render them in the order that will be defined, or rather, let us define it. Let's move over here. Run to cursor. It will do that in, well, actually, when it's run through all of that and has sorted, but okay, we're going to make it. Where was I? So what OctoPrint will do is it will iterate through this list and then pick each of these things out of here. So first it will take control and take this whole data blob in here and use that to render things. Then it will take temperature and use all that, and so on and so on. This order here comes from the configuration. And what we had here before we went through all this is that this entry of temperature said plugin tab replacement test. And the thing is, there is no plugin tab replacement test in the entries here, because we replaced this. We never added an entry for tab replacement test because it is marked to replace temperature. So the definition of tab replacement test is under the key temperature, not under the other one. So it could not be found if we define it like this with plugin tab replacement test in the order. But now what we're now doing is, if we cannot find, if there is an alias for that thing, and so if there is an alias for plugin tab replacement test that we found earlier, and the thing, so in terms of how it's actually spelled here, if plugin replacement test, or if plugin tab replacement test is not in entries, that is that part here, but it is an alias, then we take its alias from our lookup table, in this case temperature, and use that as the lookup key, and then we just continue as before. So we just rewrite it here if we need to, and we only do this if we need to, because I think we don't even need that step. Come to think of it, I think we can also just leave this out, because if it isn't, way easier this way. So if X has an alias, we are going to use the alias, because if X has an alias, it means that we replaced something. So that means if in our order definition we have temperature, this is not going to match, because temperature is not being put into alias up here. Plugin tab replacement tab, plugin test replacement tab, is, and it's mapped to temperature, but it's not the other way around. Then we are going to use, then we are going to not to go through that, and just going to process all this with X equaling temperature. If, on the other hand, we have plugin test tab replacement, or whatever it was called, tab replacement test, sorry, if we have that in our order definition, then we will, this here will be true. So we will pick the alias, we'll pick it from there, and then this will run with the other identifier. So this is covered now. And now in the live chat they are discussing what happens if both are defined in the order. Let us try. So I think what will happen is that we get this tab twice, because it will be turned into control temperature G-code viewer terminal time lapse. But let us test that. I should have put the point down there. Well, yeah. Okay, we're going to run here. So, templates, tab, order, and we already see it here in the preview. So it's now control temperature G-code viewer terminal time lapse, which is a bit we are going to verify that I'm still in the breakpoint. Come on. Are we still stuck in a breakpoint, or is it actually doing something? I'm confused. Oh, okay. Yeah, tab replacement test. What we can, of course, do, and this is actually quite easy fix, is we check if it's already in there. And then it will only get added at the very first point. And I think this is actually what I would expect. So reload, woohoo! Restart, reload, whatever. Oh damn, I'm getting hungry. I'm not going to eat the cookie that's next to me, but I need to eat something quickly. Sorry for that. I'm trying to keep it silent. As silent as this packaging makes it possible. What would be a wonderful feature, maybe it's possible somewhere and I just don't know, but if I could just drag an existing, oh dear, I feel stupid now. Look, I learned something new today. I can just take this breakpoint with all its configuration and drag it around. It's awesome. Wow. Yeah, I really should have tried that earlier. Okay, but we are still up there. We want to be down there. Okay, so. And this should actually now have prevented this from happening, I hope. And it looks like it did. So now the order is control temperature G-code viewer terminal time lapse. And just to verify that it indeed is not adding them twice, even if they are at multiple places. And this is just for ROMs. It is a Prinzenroller cookie. Yeah, so this should also not lead to the plugin tab replacement test being between terminal and time lapse, but it should still be up here. So this should just be thrown away, basically. And we're going to check that, just to be sure. And indeed, looks perfectly fine. So we can remove the breakpoint. We can make it render. I really need to fix that. And now it's working. So nothing duplicated. And it works regardless of whether we put a temperature or plugin tab replacement test there. That should already be it. Yeah, it only took us 1.5 hours. So, to quickly look over it. So what we did is we defined an aliases dictionary. We are filling that while we are pre-processing the template. definitions. And then we are making sure that any kind of aliases are also resolved here. And this is all. So this is the fix. So I'm going to quickly fix fix ordering of replacement tabs. Closest number, what was it? Where was it? 3403. Order definition might contain either the plugin identifier or the identifier of the tab of the component it replaces. Take that into account when resolving order mapping. Yeah. So commit. Control-Shift-K. Push. And then should hopefully, yep, there it is. Then we can mark this as, first of all, we should have done it earlier. It is confirmed and it is solved now. And it is also no longer potential, but a confirmed bug. Milestone is already correct. And we can now move this into solved as well on the ticket triage project board. And there are still corner cases being discussed in the chat. So if temperature is not in here, then this would be the place where it would show up in the order. If this also isn't here, then it will be placed according to the only that one. That tab will be placed in the order dictated by the template type, and this is actually documented here. I think up here. Or was it down here? I'm not entirely sure right now where it was explained, but it is explained. I definitely did. I definitely did explain the ordering somewhere. I hope so. Yeah, okay. With the current implementation, plugins will always be located to the right of the existing tabs. Yeah, that is slightly misleading because it should actually say components will always be located to the right of the existing tab. So anything that does not have an order entry will be located to the right. And I think ordered by the title alphabetically. Let me check. We have the rules definition up here somewhere. No, that's the core component, right? Tabs are appended, so added to the end and sorted by name, by the name entry. And the name entry, as we remember, or as we can look up here, is in the case of the tab heading. So let's just maybe quickly demonstrate that. We are going to remove temperature and our new thingy from there. And then we are going to slightly modify our plugin so that it no longer replaces the temperature. So actually we can just remove all that again. But we're just going to Yeah, we're going to do that. Is this possible? I think so. Then we're going to restart, and what we should now get is I should have named it actually, so that makes sense after all. So we're not going to replace anything, but we are going to give it the name of called oh yeah. Ooh, new shortcut again. So because it starts with A and A comes before T, I expect this to now have the following ordering. So first, this is what we define. So we will first see the control tab, the G-code viewer tab, the terminal tab, and the time-lapse tab. And then we also, as we saw here, we don't see here because the server is offline. But what we did have in addition to the usual ones is another tab called Progress Logger, which was a test plugin that I did a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or so for debugging something. And what I expect here is that we will see the following order. So we first will get exactly that stuff. Then we will get our replacement thing because it's called Then we will get the progress logger because it starts with P, and then we will get the temperature tab because the name of the tab itself starts with T and hence will be alphabetically ordered after the other stuff. So we're going to restart the server now after we did that change, and notice how I changed this and it is being applied. So this is because we did this pip-e pip install-e at the start, and which is why I don't constantly have to reinstall here. Yep, that's the idea. That should hopefully be back now. That's just really annoying. I need to fix that. Yeah, this did not work out as I expected it. Did I? Could be that I actually give the internal components because the only thing that is different than I expected it was that the temperature comes before the other stuff, and the temperature tab is a core tab, and it might be that the documentation was actually correct after all, which with plugins being placed after everything else. Where do I need to look? In the views, right? Template sorting. So this is how stuff is being sorted, but do we give priority to our own core thingies before we add the plugin stuff or not? That's the question here. Default order, configured disabled, missing in order. Pooh. You know how long ago it was that I wrote this code? 5 years. Whew. Okay, to be honest, right now I really don't have an idea why it is putting the temperature tab before the others. Oh wait, I think it has to do with the... Yeah, that's the reason. Here we have it. So first it goes through first create the ordered list of all component IDs according to the configured order. Then append anything from the default order that is not already in there. And the default order is something that we got from the stock settings, and the stock settings say... Oh, I don't have it open, right? There. Say... No. There. For tab, temperature, control, G-code, viewer, terminal, time-lapse. So temperature is in there. No. Yes. So anything that we don't already have in our order that is defined in the default order, we now append then. In the order it shows up in the default order. So if we also removed, for example, I don't know, control from here, we would then get G-code viewer terminal, time lapse, temperature control, and then everything else. And then once we have done that, then we add anything that is not yet included. So, for example, any kind of plugin that is not explicitly defined in config YAML. So, documentation is correct. We can just leave it like that because it's part of the plugin documentation. The ordering also, yeah, applies to the core stuff a bit, but this is a rather, yeah, this is, yeah. I think adding this kind of information to the plugin development docs would just confuse people more than actually just testing out stuff and seeing how it behaves would in corner cases such as this. But yeah, so I think this is this works now. Yep. And just for the record, what we could also, of course, do is something like, because the question also arose in the live chat, we could say tab replacement test, right? We could just move that before the temperature, or we could do something like this. Restart that. And this is actually something that if you look at the settings, which are there, this is actually something that I use a lot here because there are a bundle of bundled plugins in OctoPrint, which are supposed to go at specific places in the order. So for example, in the sidebar, I always want the firmware check, which used to be called the printer safety warning or the printer safety check, I can't remember exactly, to be always at the very top of the sidebar, because I want people to immediately see this red thing when their printer is lacking thermal runaway protection. So this is here, there is a plugin identifier showing up in here in this component list because it's a bundle plugin, but it still has the same rules applied to it as every other plugin. And the same goes for the settings actually. So there's anything that belongs to the logging plugin, the log, yeah, for managing log files and all that, or the plugin manager, which in itself is a plugin, the software update mechanism, which is a plugin. All of this gets put here at the right location in the menu or in the navigation bar on the side. So it's it's also heavily used internally, as you can see. Firmware check and the announcements, the PI support. Yeah. And we wanted to check if that worked as expected. Right, so now we have control, G-code viewer, terminal time. Oh, we are still replacing that, aren't we? No, are we? Wait. I did restart the server. Didn't I? Did I forget that? Because sometimes I forget that. But it looks like I did not forget it. Okay, that's interesting. Wait. I'm slightly confused. Oh, whoa, caching. Caching. No, not caching. Consider me puzzled again. Oh, don't consider me puzzled again. I simply forgot to save the configuration. Sometimes, yeah. The problem is, this is actually something that happens repeatedly during my day. The thing is, PyCharm automatically saves, though I usually still hit Control S when I work there. Visual Code doesn't. So whenever I edit the configuration file, I have to remember to actually save it. And there are situations where I forget, which you just witnessed. Yeah. So hopefully. Yeah, now it works. Okay, so this is exactly what it was supposed to do. First, we get our arc, hello live stream, then control, temperature, G-code for your terminal, and then everything else that still lives. Oh, and then time lapse, and then whatever else is left over, which is the progress logger plugin. And you see it overflows here because it doesn't fit more tabs here than those. And that reflects this. So first, our plugin tab replacement test, which has the name arc, then control, temperature, G-code for your terminal, time lapse. So exactly like expected. I just should have saved the configuration first. That would have helped a lot. Right. And now I actually am thinking about trying to figure out. So if I hit F5 here, you see that briefly there is a completely unformatted thing and the unformatted version of the page before the actual overlay starts. And I'm pretty sure that the reason for this happening is a pull request that I merged earlier that adds some performance improvements by preloading some of the, or rather all of the static assets, so JavaScript, CSS, less, and all that, and allows the page load itself to continue. And I fear that is the issue here, because before it was blocked while stuff was still loading. And then when it was already loaded, all the CSS was there in order to be applied. And that hit the unformatted page, or rather the page was already formatted then through that. And before that, you just got a white page. But now this is not happening anymore, which means I have to find a way to have it happen again, because frankly, this is ugly. I mean, it's only short. It's not that bad. But for me, no, 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 no. This is a no-go. So I'm not so sure though if this is a good thing for the stream. I don't know if just simply going to ask the chat if you're interested in me looking into that now. Otherwise, I'm not sure what I will do. Also, I mean, we don't have that much time left. I did not want to go over 2 hours today because remember the stomach thing? Like it was rumbling already and all that. But yeah. This is also going to be weird or difficult to fix, I think, because the thing is we now have all this preload going on here. Preload, Ginger, and this is so it only fetches the init script, but that means that all of this, yeah, visible loading. If enable loading animation. I think if we define it as visible by default and the page container is invisible by default, which we're actually doing, now consider me puzzled. Yeah, I don't get it right now. Why it is even popping up. I would expect the whole page container to be hidden because our load animation is enabled. Is it not? Otherwise, we would not even see this. This is the loading animation. And we would not see that if that was disabled. So let me quickly check in the so I just hit Control U, which gives me the page source code and the static one. So not the stuff that all the JavaScript has messed with, but actually the stuff as it was fetched from the server, unmodified, DOM completely unmodified and all that. So page container loading, visible loading. Page container data point visible. Why is this? Wait, something is off here. All my logic is of if enable loading anymore. Why isn't it injecting the display non-styling there like it should? Is there some page container, ID page container main? I'm looking at the right thing, right? Page container, ID page container main. So this here, this empty, this two spaces here, there should be something in between, and for some reason it's not landing in there. Whereas on the other hand, this here, which is in the same kind of wrapper, does show up in there. Thank you, Wireballs, by the way. I'm wondering if I'm maybe let me quickly check. The thing is, there are two possible ways to do these if inline filter thingies for Ginger, and only with the dash it. Oh dear. No, yes. So we put a dash there, we put a dash there, and that should make it put stuff there, stuff between those things inside the render template completely unmodified, exactly as there. So let me check. Oh, maybe I should actually reload that one. Oh, 3D printing stuff says variable names are different. Enable load. Thank you. That's the problem. Exactly. Perfect. Top. Great. So this is probably the issue. Yeah, so it wasn't. Yes, it's still a bit embarrassing because this is like this in 1.4.0, but yeah. This is still not entirely like I want it to be. Maybe we just also have to put the other thing into display none. Because it will be made visible. But will it? Ooh. Whew. Am I overthinking things here? Let me check. This is, I simply have to try that out, I think. So this looks okay, but then we don't get the loading animation at all anymore. So this is also not exactly what we want. So we want to want that to. Ooh, yeah, but I think we can. Yeah, give me a second. Now it's getting complicated, but we'll figure it out. So we need to go into the main JS file, which is actually firing up everything. And we need to Sean, I'm not sure what you're trying to tell us, and the message is actually held for review, but it looks like you just dumped a big hash into the chat. Is this actually where I want to go? This far up? I'm unsure right now. Nah. Now the thing is, I want it to be not only. I don't want to wait for the whole JavaScript stuff to fire off to make this thing visible. Or do I? Just to quickly check what does happen if I do this. I think it was that. Oh, and this should of course be this. This actually does look like what I want after all, right? So first nothing is showing, then this is showing, and yeah, I think this is good. So as soon as it starts running the main.js file, it will show this. Which is the behavior that we do want. And if it's not configured at all, then we don't really care, to be quite honest, and then stuff will just look differently. Let us quickly check that. Devil, show loading animation, false. Restart. Okay, has restarted now. Yeah, it's not beautiful, but if people don't want a loading animation, then this is what they will get, and I'm not going to change that, sorry. The whole reason for this flag is actually because someone Yep. Did I restart? Yes, I did. Good. Nope. Oh, I restarted. Not, apparently. Oh well. Yeah, but this actually should fix this. What did we do? Quick check. We made sure this actually does show up right on start, and it doesn't show up until then. And we also fixed this identifier here. The thing is, those are actually two different fixes, because we don't actually need this. I would say that I first selectively only commit the thing with the wrong ID, where the wrong ID of this thing here is fixed. So we first are going to add that, fix wasn't it a template variable name. So this is one commit, and then this and this here fix how do you say that? How will we fix loading animation? No, fix visibility of unformatted site during preload. Yes, this is probably, yes, two thing is too long, but introduced by, and now I need to find the hash, which I'm just going to steal after quickly verifying it from the chat. Pop. No, that was the one that went before it. Actually, I went 3497. Yeah, 3497. And push. Sean just says that I guess the commit or the thank you. He just posted the error that he was error writing gzip output of packed in a completely attribute or a module object and operator comes to. Okay. Can you please share that with me on IRC or something, because then I'll look into that, but not today anymore, I think. Also would be great if, I mean, is there module object has no attribute compress? Is this Python 3 or Python 2? Because that's weird. That's really weird. Full stack trace in a gist would be nice. Either here or on IRC. And I'll quickly take a look into the web assets thing. OctoPrint server util web assets. Error writing gzipped output of packet libs.js. Yeah. I mean, at least I put the error mapping in there. By the way, it should still load, right? It's just causing this error for you. gzip compress. I mean, that's this part here, and it should be there. Oh, Python 2. Thank you. That is a Python 2 versus Python 3 issue. The PR was apparently Python 3 only. Oh, this is going to be fun. Python 2.7 gzip. So, how do I do compress with Python 2? If the page is all foobarred and something is not working with the error handling, and that I have to look into as well, but we are quickly going to switch things over to Python 2 here. And I hope this works. This on-demand switching sometimes still does really wonky things. Looks like we're going to, thank you. I just got the trace. Which I'm maybe not going to show there. But I'm going to show this here. Yeah, no, this is something else. This is also something else. This is the problem that we're looking at. Yeah, okay, I mean this, yeah, but should it? I mean, it's okay that it does this error logging, but it should still load. Python 2.7, so we're going to try. That looks okay. So it's starting the right one. That's good. And yes, we are still, I see I have a repro. Python 2 is still actually the primary environment, because I simply didn't manage to push a Python 3 supporting release until January this year. Or was it February? March. Sorry, early March. And I am trying to move away from 2 as fast as I can, but I have a Python plugin ecosystem with currently 196 registered plugins, of which only 29% are Python 3 compatible, so I cannot really just say, well, too bad, sucks for you, and tell all people reliant on these plugins to, well, be stuck on an unsupported platform. So I'm going to maintain Python 2 compatible code for a while to come. Okay, but let's quickly take a look what happens on my end. Yeah, this is not good. This is really not good. So for some reason it cannot load. Let me quickly move this over. Yeah, it doesn't even find the jQuery file here, and the problem is probably that it is. So it is rendering stuff. but that stuff is then more or less empty. This is not really helpful, right? No response available for this request. So it's just headers, no body. Right. Yeah, that should not happen. Definitely not. The thing is, but why? I mean, it should just happily write stuff up here and not be thrown out of things out here. So that fails, and now I also see it. Great. That fails, but it should not cause an issue because we are catching this exception here and we're not re-raising it. So it should actually be writing the other stuff, but it doesn't. Why? Why isn't it writing? I mean, it definitely has to do with this merged PR, because I was running Python 2 earlier this morning for a different test, and it was still working then. So whatever introduced this general issue. Let's quickly check what happens if we remove. Was it down here? Not entirely sure I'm on the right. Nope. Yeah, where is it being used? There. We are quickly going to disable just the gzip for the JavaScript bundle in order to figure out if this error is actually what's causing the problem. CSS, JS, where are the filters? Up there. Okay. Because it could just as well just be the RJ's min thing. Just to make sure what is actually happening here. So restart. Also about this Python 3 versus 2 thing, I actually gave a talk at the PyCon DE in 2019 on largely on this whole ecosystem situation that I find myself in. So if you want to, you can take a look at that. RepCSI. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Yeah, so this is just still happening for what? For the CSS files as expected, but not for the JS, right? So what happens now? Okay, so it's obvious. I mean, the CSS and less are now empty. That's why this happens. Nope. There's my developer tools. Nice. So without the gzip thing, this is rendering correctly, right? Looks good. However, with it isn't, and I don't fully understand why yet. We're going to roll this change back because it was just for testing. And then we are going to... It's 7 p.m. Do I really want... Yeah, I'm curious now, at least. I just want to debug in here and take a look at what is happening. I mean, I understand why it is erroring here, because this method does not yet exist on Python 2, but this try except block here should actually prevent things from completely breaking. Cause the gz file not to be written. So at least that was the intention here, but for some reason apparently it's not working, and I don't understand why. And this is what I'm trying to figure out now. So we are outputting to packed libs.js, and this is the gzip version, and we are now running in here, and then we are falling on our face here, and then we are going into this except block here, and then we are logging. So far so good. And now we are continuing, and our data should actually have been written to the string IO instance here. And it has. Nice. Why isn't it being written then, please? That was our last filter. We are returning the data. Content should now be yes. Storing result in cache, yes. We're returning the memory hunk, okay. Why isn't it writing? Hunk is not none. Hunk is not none. Output is none. Why is output none? Okay, regardless. So this is not my code, right? This is web assets, which is the library that I use in order to bundle all these many JS files into one, or well, 3 technically, so that you don't have to run like 200 requests in order to fetch all the parts of your UI, but instead just a small handful. Right, output file name, that's correct. Output directory, that's correct. Save this thing into the file name, that's also correct. Wait. Is it maybe trying to fetch the gzip? Oh, right, for the, yeah, CSS. We're looking at CSS files. Content encoding gzip. Oh dear. Okay, so the problem is not that it is, so it is handling the situation correctly, that it is, can actually verify this. If we continue here and remove this because, yeah, so if we take a look at our generated files here, these are being generated, but they are empty because the file got opened, but nothing gets written to it. Oh, the file got opened, but nothing got written to. Never mind, I get it. Okay, cool. So if this fails, then we try to always remove the gzip output path again, because then it is garbage. And if something goes wrong while we are trying to do that, then, well, I don't know what else to do but log it, because apparently something is really broken, and, well, error removing broken gzip .gs from book.format.gzip output path. Ugh, it's so long. And we have to import OS because right now we don't have it imported. But that is easily done. And there might actually be a shortcut for that, but I don't know it right now, so we do it this way. So hopefully this should make it at least work again. I hope so. And that is going to be the goal for today, making this work again under Python 2 as well. With these errors still present, I'm going to take a look at how to solve this in Python 2 tomorrow. We first want to make sure this loads fully again. And this is actually looking promising. All right, so yeah, this is the solution. We just have to make sure that the gzip file that we are creating here, but which is then just left with a 0 size, or probably with a 0 size. Let me check. There. Well, yeah, no, we just deleted it, so I can no longer check. But yeah, but I mean, nothing is ever written into it, so it's probable that it's 0 size. So we are quickly going to, yeah, we can leave this. Fix non-functional page if Nee, we will do that differently. Remove 0 length .gs in case of error. Yeah, that's nicer. Otherwise, the page won't load at all because the JS, CSS less files are taken from the GZ versions, which are empty. And just so that this is clear to do, fix gzip encoding under Python 2. gzip.compress doesn't exist. Note to self. Test this stuff under both versions. Okay. You know what? Yeah. Do I really have to do this? And can I do this in Python 3? Does this still have gzip file? It does. File name, mode, compression level, file object. So if I take this correct, or understand this correctly, then this compress method is just it's basically a shortcut for this. Compress level, then it has peak and M time, but yeah, and it can write to a file like object. So instead of using gzip compress, we might actually sure to just use the gzip file thingy here for both. But how do I add stuff in then? I mean, I tell it which file name, which mode, which compression level, and then do I just like write? Or, oh wait, there is examples. That's nice. Yeah, I don't want to read, I want to write, thank you. Lots of content, and then okay. gzip open, we have this in both, right? gzip open is available in Python 3 and 2. gzip open, file name, mode, compression level, encoding, errors, new line. File name, mode, compression level, great. Okay, so we can only use file name, mode, and compression level, but we can at least try that. So instead of doing this, we are going to do with gzip.open file name, mode, oh that was actually correct, compression level as gzipped output. Oh, you know what? And then we do fwrite data encode UTF-8. 8. I think that should be compatible to both. I mean, at least it doesn't appear to be exploding anymore in start. That's good, right? And you could not see that, but this just happened in the asset folder. So there are now gz files, and they have a length. So this appears to be working, but we will only know when we actually manage to load this page with this stuff. But this looks good. Okay, so Python 2 is fixed. And now we'll verify that Python 3 still works. What was that? That was one of these wrapper thingies, right? Yeah, I still haven't fully figured out where that's coming from. It's a Python 3 issue with the debugger, actually, as far as I can tell. So it's not critical, but yeah, that looks good, I think. Just to make sure, it's actually the gzip. Yep. Okay, so we fixed that too. That was not intended, but hey. Wait. Mm. And RepCSI asks if I really need level 9 compress because it takes way more time and computing power to process, but for text files like JS, does it give you that more compression? To be honest, I just took that over from the PR. Yeah, maybe I should take a look at actual comparisons of that. Let us quickly check, maybe. So I'm making a screenshot from the current file sizes of the stuff in the assets folder. And then what other options do I actually have for compression level? I mean, the default is apparently 9, so maybe that's the reason why the person who sent the PR used it. Compress level, compress level, compress level. 9 is the slowest, 0 is no, 1 is fastest. I mean, let's just compare 1 and 9. So I have, let me just quickly commit that. Yep. And then we're going to swap this for a 1 and restart. And then I can quickly, so this is the file sizes with, and yes, it should only happen on start, the whole compression stuff. And yeah, to compare, so the biggest one is probably which is the biggest? The libs, right? 241 versus 287. So this makes a difference. And no worries, RepCSI, I'm not taking this as nitpicking or derailing. It's just it's an absolute valid question. But in this case, I would say, considering that it makes a difference just on this one file of 40 kilobytes, it definitely is worth it. And another 8 here and 20 here. So this quickly adds up. And considering that the goal of the whole gzipping thing is to, I mean, it only gets generated once on server startup and then it's done, unless of course you change any kind of any of the assets, which you usually, unless you're a developer, won't do. And the goal is to compress this stuff so that future page loads run through faster and with less load and bandwidth usage. And I guess in that case we'll stick with 9 actually. So yeah. And considering that it's 20 past 7, I'm going to wrap this up now. And I'm quickly trying to find the button to get you back to me. Hi. Yeah, okay, so we did a lot of bug fixing today, and I also showed you a very, very, very basic plugin development. And the goal, just to repeat that, is to show you a proper plugin being developed from start to finish in one of these live streams in the future. For this, I still need suggestions of what to implement. As I said at the beginning, I have some, but most of them so far, from the looks of it, are either too small, like we are still in example only territory where it doesn't, yeah, really help that much to have something that you can use and really, and like that solves a problem at the end, or they are way too big. And yeah, I'm still trying to find a good in between. I will also see that I maybe go through the plugin requests on the issue tracker. Feature requests has, maybe let me quickly show you that. On the repository, there is on the issues and on the label, there's here plugin idea, and yeah, there is some of them. I mean, this is 3 pages, and I will also go through this list again, and hopefully, Jesus, hopefully we will find something there. But I'm also taking suggestions. Oh, I wanted to quickly. Yeah. I'm also taking more suggestions, because the goal here is to really write something that, yeah, hopefully a lot of people are also excited about seeing how to write. But yeah, as I said, it's a bit tricky. It needs to be something that fits in maybe 3 or 4 hours, ideally. So, or ideally, right? Um, so yeah, I can probably decide how long something is going to take. So if I see something that's the perfect candidate, I will hopefully know it. But yeah. Um, yeah. And also, I mentioned it last week. We have Easter here, Easter vacation kind of holiday thingy here in Germany for yeah, for all employers and employees and all that. So on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, but I'm also adding my Thursday. Originally, I had scheduled that as a vacation, because that would have been the day that I come back from Merv. Yeah, well, that worked out great. But yeah, so I figured, considering that all that I'm yeah, kind of burning the candle on both ends currently, due to all the stress added by the very much increased usage of OctoPrint all over the globe. I guess due to the pandemic situation, everyone being holed up at home and printing face shields like there is no tomorrow, hopefully. I really, really need a day more of, if I can get it, so I'm going to take it. Which means the next live stream will be next week, because yeah, not tomorrow, and then we already have Thursday and Friday is off anyhow. And I'm thinking about probably doing it on Tuesday again, because this will actually be the day after the anniversary of the Patreon campaign launch. So on Monday, it will be 4 years since I launched the Patreon campaign to continue to support. Yeah, to continue to support my work on OctoPrint after the back then only sponsor had to step down. And yeah, this is, yeah, quite the fun anniversary. And maybe we can find a plug-in idea until then to implement, because that would be maybe something to really commemorate the occasion or something. I don't know. Yeah, but as I said in the past installments of this, I plan to do these things regularly, or as regularly as I can, while this whole lockdown situation is going on all over the world. And I hope it's interesting for you all. And especially, yeah, or even if it's only bug fixing, live bug fixing, and I hope you have learned some stuff. And personally, I will now just call it a day and call it quits, and try that I can hunt down some proper food that is not a nuts and berries mixture, which I should have bought a new bag of. I just noticed, because this one is nearly empty. But well, and yeah, I hope I'll see you in the next one as well. And as I said, I hope it was interesting. And yeah, until hopefully next Tuesday, all that is left to say, stay safe, wash your hands, and happy printing. Bye.